back to episode number 12 of Finding North. We've been on quite a bit of an extended break, and today is actually the last day of 2020, so it's New Year's Eve. And Fahim and I, we have decided that we sort of owe it to the year and our initial ambition to actually create one last episode and potentially, or actually definitely, the first new episode of what we now aim to actually continue doing quite regularly in 2021. So Fahim, welcome to our 12th episode. I joked earlier, we did one per month, so we can say, you know, we've done 12 last year or this year, one per month, even though, yeah, we've probably, I don't know, the last one we had in June?
Maybe June. But I love it how we find a way to make the number feel right, you know.
Feel right. Yeah.
It feels right. It's the 12th episode in December before the year end. But I think just reflecting on that before we maybe explain to our viewers maybe why the break. When we started, our aim was to get to double digits. And I think we got to 11 and we were like, look, tick, right? There was an element of that kind of justifies it, which kind of tells you like about maybe goal setting and whatnot, etc.
Exactly.
But I know, so yeah, why don't we, I've been getting a lot of folks asking, when's the next one coming? Have you guys stopped? Have you guys given up? You guys started off so well. We definitely have, you know, a few fans, a few humble fans, you know. So yeah, what's been happening your end, Flo?
Yeah, I mean, you know, it's the last day of a year that I think for everyone has been a crazy one, and for me, it's just been a complete roller coaster. With, I mean, you go to bed one day and you feel pretty pumped and hyped, and you wake up the next day and you feel completely down, and I think it's just this whole uncertainty, and you know, that we still face, because many of us said, like in March, yeah, okay, by May we're gonna be fine. Okay, by the end of the summer we'll be better. Then it was like, okay, the end of the year, and now it just looks like, even though, you know, fingers crossed, we have the vaccines now, which is, I think, in itself such a tremendous achievement by human mankind, again, to be able to pull something off in 300 days. But yeah, it's just been ups and downs, and for me personally, you know, this all started off with like a last minute sort of Saturday evening. Hey, let's do it tomorrow. We first called our first episode, you know, from idea to podcast in 24 hours, and I really had a good time throughout the process. But then a lot of personal stuff happened that I actually, during the summertime, I at the first chance I managed to escape London and go back to Germany after not seeing my family and friends for must have been almost 3 months, and I just had to get out. And I also reached a point at this point in the year where, you know, I was really like not trying to let this whole situation get me down, but I think I did it a little bit too much, you know, rallying myself too much, that at this point I was just like, I need a break. And then I just enjoyed, I think, the heck out of the summer. And we both, I think, just needed a break from we need to be as productive as we are this year because now we have so much time. And you know, that's, I think, accepting that and allowing yourself to take a break is an important thing as well. So yeah, that basically what happened. And then I think also towards the end, and we joked about this before, it was just, I think we both probably were just like not fully committed to it anymore because so much other stuff were going on. And then we were just like, so he didn't text me, so I'm not texting him either. And then we just ended up like not doing it. And then, you know, the first one doesn't happen, and then second, and then, you know, it just goes from there. Yeah.
No, definitely. I think definitely agree with your point around. I think we're both similar minded in terms of, you know, always seeking growth, always trying to be productive, always trying to squeeze every minute out of the day.
Yeah.
And I think, looking at our history and background, we put ourselves as very resilient individuals, right? And I've definitely recognized this about myself this year, that look, it's fine. It's fine to have days or weeks where you're not doing nothing and you're just switching off, and you don't need
Yeah.
to have every minute of your day planned. You don't have to have a routine that you need to, in our first few episodes, we talked about the element of habits and goal setting and everything like that. And you know what? It's fine to have a goal of saying, look, I'm just going to recharge my batteries. And then you definitely should mean it.
Mm.
And I think it's, I think for mine, very similar. Of course, I didn't travel anywhere, but work got busy. The kids being at home was fine, initially, and then the schools went into lockdown as well for a few weeks. It just got too much, and being just in the same environment. And for me, I think where it took a turn for me was during the summer. We had a very good summer in the UK, actually, up until September even. I think it was still sunny outside, so you could actually go for a nice walk or be in the garden if you have one. So there used to be a little bit of a change of environment and scenery. But I think from September onwards, or October onwards, the weather was dull, it was gray, it was raining all the time. You didn't really feel like walking out, so you ended up being in the same environment, cooped up for such a long time. And yeah, I definitely went through a period of like, really, like I started meditating to get myself out. So I don't, whatever people may think, there's no shame in saying, hey, you struggled, and
Absolutely. Yeah.
the extremes were really far apart. And but I'm glad. I think making it till end of this year, and it's a big achievement in itself. Anything extra is a bonus, and count yourself lucky.
Yeah.
I would say that's a big reflection on my side.
I definitely agree, and I think the allowing yourself to actually be vulnerable at times
Mm.
is actually also something that I think for me this year is also like a sort of a revelation for myself, or that it's okay to not always try to be like pretending that nothing affects you, and you just want to be
Yeah.
productive, and you just want to be the best version of yourself and move on, right? And I think that in itself, especially in such weird times, you need to be a little bit careful that you don't sort of like overpace. And then that was exactly what happens during summertime, and that I just took a break from everything. Like I stopped like reading tech news or anything like that. I just wanted to like be here during summertime, enjoy the weather, and just I barely worked out during the summer. Like also something
Mm.
that I usually really try, but I just needed a complete break. It's yeah, and I know that a lot of people have it probably or had it much harder. So I'm physically, financially
Yeah.
healthy. My no one in my family, immediate family or friends was really affected by it, but still that doesn't mean that it doesn't have an impact on you as well, right?
Yeah.
And I think so many other people out there, and being able to accept that, acknowledge it, and not trying to sort of you know trying to be hard or something. I think that's it's an important lesson for everyone, at least for me.
Yeah,
So
no, I think one thing for me, just to add, because it triggered it while you were speaking, is um, I'm the type of person that don't tend to go, because I'm the eldest in my family, blah blah blah, etc. I'm always at everybody else. I'm just a rock. Come on over, just kick me as hard as you want, and it's all good, right?
yeah,
But I found the power of just opening up to people and just talking, even though the other person may not have the solution or may not have the answers, but if they're a good listener, I found it on a number of occasions. It really helped me just to talk, about things, etc. And then afterwards, you kind of feel like a weight lifted off your shoulders.
Absolutely.
So I think that's something I'm very conscious of, going forward, because I think just me being the way I am, I've always just kept it in and just saying nope. I don't have a breaking point and whatnot, but just talking through it, I think helps. I think if others are struggling or whatever, just find somebody, and you need to seek people that are good listeners, right? That they won't straight away, after you've given them 5 words and automatically they've got a solution or a plan for you. No, most of the time people just want to be just heard.
Yeah.
That's it.
I think that's a it's just something I realized for myself is really such an important skill to have, not just in work situations, but also like in your private life, is actually to listen through to the end of a sentence or a thought of the other person, even though after 2 words you already had the solution or something very profound to say. And I think I've not been pretty good with this in the past. I've usually maybe then jumped in a little bit too early, but I think listening through until the end, holding your thought, you don't need to, but I think it's a very important skill to have.
Definitely.
We've probably done a lot of listening and talking this year, especially also like in online meetings. So that's even more important. Yeah. So moving on from why we stopped. So maybe you start. What triggered you to? Because we both sort of came up with the idea and this thought at the same time, like 2 weeks ago. So to actually have one more episode at least this year, and then actually maybe continuing. So why is it? Do you think it's a good time, or it's just the right thing to start?
I think when I was reflecting on so at the end of every year, as everybody does, I think, or the time of day, you just reflect on your year, how has it gone through, put things into perspective. And I think the big thing for me nowadays is, how did I feel at that moment in time? Forget about the achievement or whatever it may be, right? But what was the feeling? And I remember at the beginning when we started doing this, right? I felt really good. Running up to an episode, and afterwards you'd be buzzing, and in midweek we'd be talking about certain topics. So I remember just reflecting back that in that initial period, maybe there was just a buzz, initially, whatever, but I felt so good. I felt looking forward to those Sunday morning podcasts. We had a little routine going. All my kids knew that I was recording a podcast, so they would, stay away. So I felt that was something good in my life routine, that I felt talking through things, and because I think both you and I always have an opinion about something, and we like to share that opinion. And then also just seeing that others are out there listening, and they would bring this up in conversations, you'd be like, oh, okay, so it would spark conversation. But more importantly for me, it's how I felt creating those first 10, 11 episodes. It was a good feeling, and I felt, hey, it would be so wrong not to finish the year with an episode, and hopefully this gives us the right momentum to carry on next year. But I remember in our first episode, one of the main reasons I wanted to start this was to also just leave a video legacy diary thing for my kids and family and friends, so that they could be watching this in 10 years, 20 years time. They're like, oh my God, okay, cool, well, my dad had opinions about this and that, so I think documenting the journey, it's so important. And I think 2020 is going to be a very memorable year historically, right? And I think we'll only appreciate these recordings and these sharing of thoughts that we did many years later down the line. So I think for me, it's like we both said, look, it's not about growing a massive audience or, you know, or anything like that. It is leaving our own little breadcrumb trail that we go look back upon, and maybe for those around us to also look back and leave a bit of a history, legacy type of thing.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you? And yeah, what's...
Yeah, I mean, pretty much exactly what you said. Like, I have usually the most intense sort of reflection on the year actually in the night between New Year's Eve and New Year's. So like really when I get, well, you know, you back in the days when we managed to see friends and families and have big parties, you came home and you went to bed, and then often I was like awake for 2 hours, and just like really like a film was going through my head from like,
Yeah.
you know, the ones you see on TV. And but yeah, it started sort of yesterday already, or maybe a couple of days ago, and it's exactly that, right? You look back at this year that has been so different from all the other years, and I was like, you know, this was really fun, you know. And it was exactly what she said. It was this weekly thing. You knew, okay, next Sunday again, right? And also you had something to do on a Sunday, and maybe that also then sparked some sort of habit of like just thinking about certain things and writing them down, so you know what you want to talk about again on Sunday. And that is sort of like a mini journaling exercise,
Yeah.
almost, in a
Yeah.
sense.
I agree.
And you, I think it also helps to get things off your chest, because we've always done this fully unscripted, right? We maybe have a couple of scribbles on a piece of paper and we quickly discuss it before, but then every conversation afterwards is truly like just us talking. And you might not often always do it that way with other people. So I think having this like talking things off your chest completely freely once a week, I think maybe also helps with your, I don't want to say, it's not your headspace, you know, how occupied, you know, sometimes you can just
Yeah.
offload things. Yeah, I think in that period, I don't know if I'm making that up, but like I've slept very well during those few weeks, you know. Maybe that was part of it, that I didn't have any insomnia in the evening, being awake and thinking about things, because maybe I thought, okay, I have this one day a week where I can just talk everything off my chest. And then for me, I think the other reason is, for me, I think 2021 will bring a lot of, at least personally, huge changes for me. And I want to make this sort of one of the pillar things that will help me, you know, just go through the year and have like this one thing I already know I want to do, and I, you know, I want to put my heart and soul into it and have this thing happening weekly. And I think that will also help me with that, with some of the other changes that the next year will bring. So yeah, and you know, I enjoy talking to you. It's been fun. Some people, our few fans that we have, they've been nagging us, so I thought, why not?
Yeah. Yeah. No, definitely. I think we always fall into the trap of like, you know, productivity journaling, you know, but I think this is maybe a version of journaling, because, you know, just to get your thoughts out there, and
Yeah.
bounce them off, and like you said, we don't really script this. I mean, I just wrote two random things, but we've already gone off script massively. But yeah, no, I think we'll definitely let's try and try and do, we said, what, maybe one episode a week. Let's get back to that Sunday. What we got to do is definitely do more than 12, you know. That's the case.
Yeah,
I don't, you want 52?
wait, let's say 52. Maybe we get it done.
Yes. Okay.
It's
Yes.
a good aim to have. Let's do try to do one a week ish, and that'd be, I mean,
Yeah.
you know,
And I think something that you mentioned, you know, to help kick this one off is the importance of just having somebody that can hold each other's to account, right? I think, you know what, you need to recognize if the other one is dragging their feet, and you got to say, okay, well, I need to step up, you know.
Yeah.
And
We had
fix
a
that person.
virtual handshake yesterday.
We did.
Yeah.
And no, I even today, before we sat down, I went for a walk. It's freezing out here in London today, But yeah, it was exciting. It was exciting.
Cool. So, considering, so I think what would be fun right now, rather than talking about one specific topic, I told you that thing that I've thought of a sort of surprise question to prompt you, and I think it would flow nicely from what we just discussed before. So maybe I just throw this one in,
Okay, go
and we
for
see
it.
how it goes. So I've been thinking a lot recently about sort of this year as a whole, right? And how it's impacted, affected my life, other people's life, and so on. And I came up with the questions like, if you would be given sort of an almighty remote control, yeah, that you could control life, and at this point in time, and you're given the option to either delete 2020 from your memory, or just keep it there, and move on. Obviously, not delete the pandemic, because that obviously you can't. Everyone would say yes, of course, to save lives and the economy and whatnot. But just like as a whole, if you could just like erase this, move on, and it be gone, would you rather keep the memory and like all this shit that has happened,
Yeah,
or would you say, you know what, no, if I could, I'd delete it?
yeah. I'm very clear on this type of thing. You know, I would not erase it. I would keep it 100%, because I
Mm,
think um, you are who you are as a result of your
mm,
history and experiences and whatnot. So, um, looking at where I am now, there is a lot to be grateful for, right?
mm,
I can't remember that movie. Is it The Butterfly, where the guy keeps going back? He changes something, and then he comes
mm,
out as completely messed up and tries to go back again,
yeah.
and he just is like. So I am a big believer that your experiences shape you, you know, um, and good and bad, by the way,
Mm,
good and bad. If I look back, and because 2020 is fairly recent, you kind of think like, oh, you know what, wish didn't happen and whatnot, etc. Right? But many years down the line, you would only realize the benefits of this year and the resilience that you've
mm,
built and techniques and whatnot, etc. So
mm,
I remember, and we talked about this in the first few episodes, right? Uh, we had a family business of a pizza shop, remember? Back, and this was when I was like, I don't know, 16, 17, 18, right? So prime youth years, where you want to go out with your mates, but you're stuck in a pizza shop all weekend, right? At that moment in time, and even after a number of years after that, I used to hate working there,
yeah.
long hours, all my friends were. But now I reflect back, like I could have been doing other things where I was up to no good. I learned so much about customer service, and
Mm,
I just grew up so I look back and saying, wow, if I didn't do that, I wouldn't be where I am to a certain
mm,
extent. So I tend to look at these experiences as I would never change them, because they shape who you are.
yeah.
And if you've got good things, of course we can always be better in everything. Our lives could be better, but there's a lot of blessings we have, and I think using that experience to better yourself has always been my attitude to life. So whenever you're going
Mm,
through a hardship, ease comes afterwards through hardship. And if it doesn't happen now, if we didn't go through 2020 now, it would happen at some point in the future. So might as well just get it over and done with.
yeah.
That's my attitude. How about you? How are you seeing it?
Yeah. Yeah, pretty much the same. Like if but I completely would get if people say, it's been such an awful year. I just want to get it erased from my memory. That's completely fine. For me, what has happened, especially in the last 3 months, I would say, almost like the last quarter, is everyone says like, yeah, 2020 has exposed everything, like in business and so on. But I think it also has done that in your personal life, and in just who you are. So
Yeah,
because our life was so restrictive this year, life has, for the for the majority of the year, 9 months out of the 12, been distilled to the core essence of, like what your life is, because you had so less distractions, so you had so much more time for, with yourself, and you couldn't do much. You couldn't just like, oh, today I'm in a bad mood, so I'm gonna go out with friends, or go to the cinema. So it's been the most simple year probably most of us ever had in their lifetime. Yeah, and so restrictive. So it's almost like there was a net put over your life, and then things that
Yeah.
usually happen, they stuck
Yeah.
in the
True.
net, and only the real true essential things fall through. And then you look at them, right? And you also look at the things that get stuck in the net, and you're like, well, if it's up there now, should it maybe stay up there also after this
Mm.
unprecedented times are over? So it's sort of like this filtering process that has happened. Yeah, so it's like a distill that comes out at
Yeah.
the bottom. And for me, I just recognize certain things, whether it's personally, in relationships, professionally, that just got stuck in up there. And like, well, you know what? I'm glad that happened, because now I know if they stuck up there, 9 months later, I need to erase them for good.
Mm.
I should not reintroduce them, at least not to maybe the level that it was before, post the pandemic.
Yeah.
So, in that regard, it's been actually a very essential year to realize and recognize those things, because otherwise, how it is with routine, and you just keep going, right? Like, and you do the things you've always done, and with the people you've always done it, maybe in the company you've always done it, like.
Yeah.
So this has just been like both feet on the brake, and yeah, so that's why for me, definitely want to keep it. And it might turn out as one of the most valuable years in terms of your personal growth and learning and discovery that we all might have ever had discovered.
Very true. No, no, definitely agree with that.
Cool.
I don't have a cool question. I didn't think of it.
Well, yeah, because like I didn't tell you about it, but I think that makes it fun if you can just.
No, that was good. That was good. No, no. I must say, like, I like your analogy of the filtering system, and then see what really matters in life, and then you hold on to them and you cherish them a bit more going forward. Because you're right. Um, Without this, take example, just going out there to the shops and buying milk, eggs, etc. And I know we live in a very privileged society already, right? That I think we've got lots to be grateful for, and this reset 2020 just
Mm.
made people realize, like, importance of toilet paper and all these sort of things.
So talking about the biggest achievements for you this year.
You know what?
Anything comes to mind?
Um, Making it through the year, making it to the 31st of December, honestly, like, everything else is a bonus. I've been deeply reflecting about this a lot, actually. And I said, you know what, just making it through, because
Mm.
usually you would have, like, I was reflecting on my goals, like I said at the beginning of the year. Oh my God, I was gonna, do so much, I just accepted. I said, no, it's cool. It's cool,
Yeah.
Fahim. You made
Yeah.
it through the year, through one of the most, intense, unpredictable, uncertain years, and you still got, your health, your family. That's all that matters. So I think that anything else, is a bonus. Yeah.
For
and
sure.
and you?
Uh, well, I'm not sure if you can call it achievement, but I have spent, like, in all sort of situations of hardship, there's also always something maybe where you find some sort of beauty. And for me this year, I'm in Germany again, and I've been for almost 2 months again, in addition to the more than 8 weeks I've been here during summertime. So I've spent almost 4 months this year with my parents, and then also like
Nice.
obviously my the rest of my from family, even though you can't see them that much, and friends. And I mean, just the blessing of being able to. I've probably spent more time this year than the past 4 years or maybe 5 years together.
Easily.
Because actually, I came here quite often and also for Christmas, but a long weekend, a week here and there, but nothing like that. And this is a blessing, and I actually feel very blessed. And I'm also happy that I have made the decision to actually, now also, come here pre the previous lockdown, and just give up sort of temporarily everything in London to be here, because it's just like that's just the most important thing right now. I think it's just being with your family, making supporting each other, making sure you're healthy, and if something would happen, you're just around. And it's one of those things, right? It's like refocusing on what really matters, and recognizing how under any whatever the circumstances are, how blessed we are with the life we live and what we have. And then really just fully double down on that next year, and really refocus on those things.
Definitely.
And I also stopped smoking. I mean, like that's the for my health.
Okay, you're going strong on that. Oh, very good.
That's been a big one. I'm not even. It was someday in April. I don't even remember. I'm not counting days or month anymore. So that's been sort of, anyone who has been a smoker before knows how hard it is. So that's been a big one. Yeah, and then I think. I think also it maybe comes back down to the family and friends thing. I think I've very consciously looked out for certain people this year, or I try to, and also try to provide them with sort of like a some sort of foundation to tackle one of the biggest pandemics alongside the actual pandemic, which is, I think, increasing levels of loneliness within our society. That happens anyway, pandemic or not, but specifically this year. And there's just certain people, who maybe don't have a family around, or a relationship, or friends, and they're really stuck. And being conscious of that, and then and reaching out, and actively having time for them. I think that's also something that should happen anyway, pandemic or not, but we don't do it enough. And but that's why I think that's a personal achievement for me, because I've done it this year, and now I know how it has to happen regardless of whether there's a bloody coronavirus going on or not.
Yeah, no, definitely. I think, of course, I think many people now have family WhatsApp group. I mean, many different WhatsApp groups, right? And I think especially this year, we as a family and extended families have been the most active, on these groups where, it's a new form of keeping in touch, right? But I think what I've noticed is that it's advanced from just mere text messages to videos, to people, recording what they're doing on the day, elaborate use of animated GIFs now. So, we've got one group, and there's like, I don't know, 30, 40 members on it. And one day you would wake up to 500 messages, right? And it's like, it's impossible to keep up. So and you don't try and keep up, but wherever you're there, you try and it's like I don't know, like a group. And then if there's like 5 people by the water cooler, then you just join and have that conversation. But it's very hard to historically go back and catch up with everything. And I think that's been a massive, like you said, for me, just keeping in touch with extended family and relatives. I've always been, busy, but I think that has allowed me find a way that it doesn't take a lot of time to make such a big difference, you know, to keep the communication going and things like this. So no, definitely.
Cool. So we had a couple of more topics, but as always, we run out of time, and I think it's actually good to maybe just keep it with these topics and what we just
Yeah.
discussed. You know, our personal sort of learnings and revelations from this year. I have one last question, but I think maybe some of the things we also said we might want to pick up, which is more on the no the business side and you know tech trends for next year that we see. I have a interesting idea about a potential acquisition or merger that I so we let's make that just part of our next
Okay,
conversation
cool. Yeah.
next week,
Let's do that.
and then we can maybe more focus around that topic. And today we keep it with this one. So one last one, also prompting you right here. So today's the 31st of December 2020. Do you feel more or less happy than on the 31st of December 2019?
No, well, last year I was somewhere else. You know, I was on a sabbatical. God, yes, I remember where I was. I was in Kuala Lumpur in Malaysia.
Yeah.
We met a family there, really good, Kai, if he's listening, and they invited us round, and we were watching the fireworks on his rooftop. I think for me, when I look back, you know, that sabbatical experience and traveling Southeast Asia is always going to be right up there.
Yeah.
So you're right. I think your question's a fair one, but because I had recently had that experience, the last year's experience topped it massively.
Yeah.
Well, what about you? How was your last year compared to
Well,
this
last year, I
year?
think it's unfair to compare it with New Year's Eve last year because that was probably even worse than this year because I was sick at home watching the fireworks in London on YouTube. So probably not a fair comparison. But I think in terms of like as a whole, you know, and not just on that particular day where I spend it, and because I'm not sure if it's happier, but I'm more clear, and I think that can translate into maybe increased happiness in the future. You know, I think that comes back to what I said earlier: the net, the filter,
the clarity.
you know, things disappear, and suddenly I think you just see certain things in your life more clear. And then it's obviously what you make with it that then hopefully will lead to continuous increased happiness that we all seek for, I think. So I would say yes through a different variable.
Yeah, no, definitely. I think this has definitely been a year of more self-discovery, right? And I think the more you discover yourself, you can start to manage yourself better as well. You know, there's a famous saying, isn't there? If you can measure it, you can manage it, right? Something like that.
Definitely.
So no, definitely. So question to you.
Yeah.
Are you looking forward to 2021?
Yes. Like I'm buzzing. Like
Nice.
yeah, because I mean it cannot get worse than this year. The I think the signs look very bright at the moment. We, you know, in Europe, at least we, well, in the UK now, there's the second vaccine has been approved. I think it was yesterday. This Brexit topic is finally behind us, which has almost been defining my whole UK London journey from the very beginning. The vote and the referendum happened, I think, 7 months after I moved there. So it's basically my entire time in the UK has just been dominated by Brexit. So putting that behind us is a big one. all that, as I said earlier, like the self-discovery that now had led to clarity that will now lead to significant changes, hopefully in the next year, that all of that, and the fact that I'm healthy, I have healthy relationship or healthy relationships. My parents are well, my extended family, everyone as well. So yeah, I mean, I think we need to focus on those things, and again, just very regularly remember how blessed we are, and then it can only be a good year.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I'm buzzing as well. I think putting this year behind us, and yes, there's going to be another, because there's a different variant going around now. But I think it feels like we can handle 2021 slightly better.
Yeah.
Because we kind of know what to expect, and how to maybe a little bit prep for it. Cool. Well, yeah,
Nice
I think.
final words. Let's see what's gonna happen.
No final words. I think we always try and keep these short. But no, I'm glad we managed to do this episode, and let this be a start, or build a momentum for many more episodes going forward.
Absolutely. Cool. All right.
All right. Do you
Then,
remember how to even sign us off?
I think I do remember. So, yeah, thanks guys for listening to episode 12 of Finding North. As always, if you want to see or hear more of them in the future, please subscribe. Let us know in the comments if you want us to cover any topics or how you felt about it. Also, make sure to download the podcast version of this on Spotify. And there's also, we still have the email address going, finding, what was the
Finding North Podcast at gmail.com.
That's the one.
I
Yeah.
think.
So you, any thoughts, you can also reach us there. And yes, we wish you all a happy new year. I hope you're all well and you can start into the new year, hopefully a much better year, surrounded by a few of your loved ones. Stay healthy, stay blessed, and we speak to you in a week.
Peace.